In today's video, we're going to talk about how items work in Mobile Legends. It's very common to build extremely explosive setups and still feel like your damage just doesn't go through against certain enemies. Likewise, you buy defensive items to try to withstand the damage from some heroes, but end up dying as if you had no defense at all. If this happens often, the issue is probably not your build itself, but a lack of understanding of item attributes and passives. If you struggle with this kind of problem, don't go anywhere. In this video, I'll explain in a simple and clear way how the most important, and also the most confusing, attributes found in most items actually work. We'll talk about defense, the difference between flat and percentage penetration, critical damage items, cooldown reduction, and also explain exactly how spell vamp and lifesteal work. With this knowledge, you'll be able to build much more efficient setups and truly understand why certain items work or don't, depending on the match. Passives and attributes. Equipment has different elements known as attributes, unique attributes, and unique passives. What many players still don't realize is that some of these elements do not stack when repeated in the same build, and understanding this makes a huge difference when optimizing itemization. Common attributes appear on the left side of an item's description and can be stacked, even if you buy the same item more than once. A good example is Hunter Strike, which grants plus 80 physical attack and plus 10% cooldown reduction. If you buy this item twice, the values are added together, resulting in plus 160 physical attack and plus 20% cooldown reduction. Unique attributes, however, work differently. They do not stack when you buy the same item twice, but they can be stacked if they come from different items that share the same unique attribute. A clear example is Hunter Strike and Blade of Heptasius, both of which provide plus 15 physical penetration as a unique attribute. If you buy both items, you will have a total of plus 30 physical penetration. When it comes to unique passives, the rule is even stricter. Unique passives never stack, not even when they come from different items. For example, Malefic Roar and Malefic Gun share the same unique passive that increases physical penetration by 30%. If you buy both items in the same build, only one of these passives will take effect. The other will be completely ignored. Finally, some equipment includes active skills, which grant an extra ability with unique effects and its own cooldown, just like regular hero skills. Currently, only 2 items have this feature: Winter Crown and Wind of Nature. An extremely important detail is that you can only have one active skill per build, meaning you must choose between these items. Understanding these mechanics is essential for building more efficient item sets, avoiding wasted gold, and extracting the maximum potential from your hero in every match. How defense and penetration work. Physical defense and magic defense are responsible for reducing part of the damage received from enemies. What many players still don't know is that this reduction does not work in a direct point-for-point way. Instead, it is calculated as a percentage and follows a diminishing return system. In practice, this means defense does not reduce damage linearly. If it worked that way, defensive items would be almost useless, since many abilities can easily deal over 2,000 damage. That's why the game uses a specific formula to balance damage and defense. Let's look at a practical example using Luo Yi. Her first skill deals 520 magic damage to a target with 0 magic defense. After buying a magic defense cloak, which grants plus 14 magic defense, many players would assume the damage would drop to 506 by simply subtracting 14 points. However, the actual damage dealt becomes 466. In other words, just 14 points of defense reduce the damage by 54. This happens because defense reduces damage by percentage, not by fixed values. That is the foundation of the game's damage reduction formula. This raises an important question. If a small amount of defense already reduces so much damage, wouldn't high defense items make heroes almost immortal? The answer is no. The formula itself prevents this by applying diminishing returns. The higher the defense, the less impact each additional point provides. Continuing the example, increasing defense to 28 points reduces the damage taken to 422. That means the first 14 points reduced damage by 54, while the next 14 points reduced it by only 44. Although you might expect a proportional reduction, defense becomes less efficient as it increases. To deal with enemies who stack a lot of defense, penetration comes into play. Penetration ignores part of the target's defense, allowing more effective damage to go through. There are 2 types of penetration: flat and percentage-based. Starting with flat penetration, let's use Genius Wand as an example, which grants 10 flat magic penetration. To keep the test balanced, Ice Queen Wand was used for comparison, since both items provide 75 magic power. Against a target with 14 magic defense, the damage dealt with Ice Queen Wand was 557, while with Genius Wand, it increased to 601, a gain of 44 damage. Against a target with 100 magic defense, the damage with Ice Queen Wand was 339, while with Genius Wand, it reached 355, a difference of only 16 damage. In this scenario, flat penetration had very little impact. Now let's analyze percentage penetration using Divine Glaive as an example. To keep the comparison fair, Flask of the Oasis was used, as it has the same amount of magic power as Divine Glaive. Against a target with 14 magic defense, the damage with Flask of the Oasis was 538, while with Divine Glaive it increased to 563, only 25 extra damage. However, against a target with 100 magic defense, the damage with Flask of the Oasis was 328, while Divine Glaive boosted it to 424, a significant increase of 96 damage. Critical damage. For those who don't know yet, critical damage is represented by a small icon that appears alongside the damage numbers during the match. This type of damage is very common among marksmen focused on attack speed, since they perform many basic attacks in a short period of time. Critical damage items have specific attributes that increase both the chance of a basic attack being critical and the amount of damage dealt when a critical hit occurs, making this type of build extremely explosive. The first attribute you need to understand is critical chance. It is present in all items from this category and works in a very simple way. It increases, in percentage, the chance for a basic attack to deal critical damage. The more critical chance you stack in your build, the more frequently critical hits will occur. Another extremely important attribute is critical damage increase. Unlike critical chance, this attribute does not affect how often critical hits happen, but rather how much damage they deal. It is present in the Fatal Talent and in the Berserker's Fury item. This bonus increases, in percentage, the damage dealt when a critical hit occurs. Since it depends directly on critical hits, critical damage increase only reaches its full potential when combined with a high amount of critical chance. That's why builds focused on this playstyle usually use the full set of critical damage items to maximize the damage output of basic attacks. Cooldown reduction. Cooldown reduction is an attribute that decreases the cooldown time of abilities. In general, the maximum cap for this stat is 40%, even if you exceed this value by purchasing multiple items with cooldown reduction. The only exception to this rule is Enchanted Talisman, which allows you to break this limit and reach up to 45% cooldown reduction, a detail many players are not aware of. This attribute is extremely valuable for heroes who rely heavily on their abilities to make plays, such as mages and skill-based fighters. The shorter the cooldowns, the more often abilities can be used, resulting in higher damage, more crowd control, and a much stronger presence in fights and teamfights. Spell, Vamp, and Lifesteal. At first glance, Spell, Vamp, and Lifesteal may seem like the same attribute, but in practice they work in very different ways. Lifesteal is triggered exclusively by basic attacks, while Spell Vamp activates whenever a hero deals damage using skills. In addition to these two, there is also Hybrid Lifesteal, which works as a combination of both attributes, allowing HP recovery from both basic attacks and skill damage. All of these attributes are displayed as percentages in item descriptions. They function by restoring HP based on a percentage of the damage dealt, meaning the higher the damage, the greater the amount of HP recovered. Because of this, heroes with high damage output benefit much more from these attributes, especially during prolonged fights and constant trades. Understanding the difference between Spell Vamp and Lifesteal is essential for choosing the right items and maximizing your hero's potential throughout the match. This channel is full of Mobile Legends content, including a playlist with complete tutorials for various heroes. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and see you in the next video.